Alrighty, if the candidates will go ahead and click the unmute button on their microphone. Now they're at 4 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get things started. Once again, for those joining us, my name is Taylor Shelton. I'm the Director of Government Affairs and Sustainability for the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce. We thank you for joining our first annual, hopefully not annual, first ever Zoom forum. We are asking a series of questions of our mayoral candidates today. We will first be moving to a series of opening statements from each of the candidates. I'll be just going down the line that I see them here and reversing the order. Mr. Balcom, if you will be first, I'll go ahead and I'll be keeping your time. As far as the timekeeping goes, just to keep back on me shouting down at you, I will let you know when you have 30 seconds left on your 3-minute response. Each response you have today will be 3 minutes long, and I'll give you a courtesy reminder that you have 30 seconds left when that time comes. Any questions from the candidates before we begin?
No, I think we're good.
All righty. Mr. Balcom, if you will start us off with your opening statement.
Yes, my name is Ron Balcom. I'm a lifelong resident of Fayetteville, running for the mayoral position here. I'm a Christian, I'm conservative, staunch believer in the U.S. Constitution, pro-life, pro-family. Like I said, I've lived here all my life, and there's been a lot of changes, a lot of good changes, but then there's been some bad ones too. And I don't know, our community seems a little more divisive these days than it used to be, and I think we need to just all of us work together. We need to get more people in Fayetteville involved in this political process, in the process of just basically governing our town. We don't have enough participation from enough people. There's just a small percentage of people. Plus our programs, we need to look at trying to benefit all of Fayetteville, not just a few certain groups or a few people here and there. We have got probably safety issues that are going to be coming up in the future if the world keeps going like it is. So I think we need to take better safety measures and to protect our citizens. We definitely got to do something fiscally. Our money situation has gotten way out of hand. We can't continue to use the taxpayers' dollars like monopoly money. And I'm sorry, that's the way I feel that they've been doing for quite a few years. Some of the members on the governing body up there. I just think that we need to get more people involved, and I think I'm the right candidate to bring that to fruition. I think my education will help me in that matter. I've got a degree from university and had a double major in accounting and finance, so I'm highly skilled in budgets and money problems and what we need to do, I think, with the taxpayer dollars. So basically, that's my platform.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Now, Mr. Terminella, if you'd like to go ahead and do your opening statement for 3 minutes.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I appreciate the chamber putting this on. And I'm Tom Terminella. I'm a candidate for the new mayor of Fayetteville. I've been here since 1973. I'm the last of 8 children. Grew up on Hall Street over north of the university. I have some 23 or 4 or 5 nieces and nephews. I've lost count. I'm running for mayor of Fayetteville for several reasons. I've watched our community drift apart over the last few years. I've watched our current administration not govern from the center and not be inclusive for all the citizens and all the groups of Fayetteville. I think it's gotten to the point where Lionel has certainly been in office and affiliated with the city of Fayetteville for some 20 years, 8 as council, 12 as mayor. I'm in full support of anybody running for public service. I think that's exactly what it should be. I think you ought to do your 1 or 2 terms of public service, and then I think you ought to move on. And Lionel has turned this into a career. I don't agree with that aspect, and I think it ought to be public service. And I think anybody that runs for mayor in the future ought to agree to be mayor for 2 terms and then move on. So my hope and expectation is to bring everybody together 8 out of 10 people that I come across campaigning this time as mayor, the number one issue has, for most of them, have been they feel like Fayetteville's divided, and that not everybody's being represented. So my hope and expectation is to run a good, solid 30 more days worth of campaigning and win over the hearts and minds of the people that live here in Fayetteville. And I'm hoping that they'll vote for me come November 3rd to be the next mayor of Fayetteville. And
30 seconds.
I'm going to work real hard on trying to make that happen. So there you go.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Harris?
Yes, thank you. My name is William Harris, Bill Harris, and I've lived in Fayetteville for 15 years or so, since 2005. I like this city. And I've grown to love this city. It has such a tremendous potential. I'm really interested in what this city can do for the rest of the country. In fact, I am an economist by degree, and I've had some sociological studies at graduate level in the past, and many recent courses here at the university. So I spent my life trying to be not a scholar, but a student. I do have a checkered past, which I'm actually rather proud of. Way back in the 60s, actually in 1970, I got tied up with the Cultural Revolution that was going on. I actually went to Washington to try and lobby to get transferred to Vietnam. Instead, I ran into a crowd of people that rushed me into the Cultural Revolution, a violent communist revolution. I'm really lucky to have gotten involved with them and performed revolutionary acts with them. But luckily, nobody got killed, and I'm the only one who got hurt, as far as I know, in any serious way. I spent 6 years in prison for what we did in Columbus, Ohio. Another 6 years after that, they had reorganized. I couldn't find anybody to get in touch with them. Finally, I recognized what they were up to at a higher level. Because I've been rushed in Washington, I was able to get in touch with the leadership. I challenged them and tried to offer an alternative. They didn't like that. I ended up spending another 14 years in prison because after almost 20 years, they had the courts in their pocket. So when I found out what they'd done back home to embarrass me, I rolled over against them, turned in a list of names, and joined the Reagan Teflon team. Okay, now what I would like to do here in Fayetteville, because there's so much potential, I would like to see a swimming pool for the kids, a large full-size pool around the center of town, not at the south end. I know we've got a little one at the south end near the campus in an isolated neighborhood. I want a big swimming pool for the kids because that's important for society. If we've really got a race problem in Fayetteville, that swimming pool will tell us whether we've got it or not. We quit building large swimming pools around the time of desegregation. We can
30 seconds.
Federal money to build a pool. I want to see the free and easy flow of traffic. I know you're familiar with the blocked signs in the middle of the street. What about trucks and buses and fire trucks and ambulances? I want the streets cleared for free and easy flow of traffic. Quit taking sidewalk space out of the street to make wider sidewalks. This is not an open mall city. It's not a museum city. We're not a frontier city or a Civil War city. This is a
Time, sir.
forward city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now go to our first question. It will allow you to kind of expand on your intro there a little bit. Why did you decide to run for office? Mr. Harris, we'll start with you.
Sure. I saw the opportunity. I had previously wanted to run for unarmed constable in response to the BLM effort, which I didn't really care for. I see BLM as causing a lot of excitement, if you don't mind, and not offering any real solutions to the problem. Unarmed constable in troubled neighborhoods is a possible solution to the problems that they have, those troubled people in those neighborhoods have. That's local political autonomy. It's an unarmed badge that the kids will all know that it's can't accidentally shoot anybody. Anyway, as it happened, I couldn't make that run. So when the mayorship opened up, I decided to jump into that race. That's my opportunity. And I believe Fayetteville can grow and lead the nation into the future. We can do it.
Thank you. Mr. Terminella, why did you decide to run for office?
Well, let's see, this is my second turn at trying to be the new mayor of Fayetteville. I ran in 2016. Not a politician at all. I'm a businessman. I started out, when I was some 15 years old down on Center University with a car wash and a gas station, and have been self-employed ever since. I got into real estate after I graduated from high school. And over the last 30 years, I've watched our city, unfortunately, get preoccupied with maybe some of the feel-good things and neglect what I feel is important for the citizens of Fayetteville. And, the biggest reason that I'm here today running for the second term is I don't believe we're focusing enough on, the main framework of a city, and that's, police, fire, your water, your sewer, your sanitation, your transportation. I think we've lost sight of all of those items. Fayetteville hasn't built any new bricks and mortar as far as administrative assets in some 30 years. Our transfer station, our city shops, our parks and recs facilities, all of our public spaces, even City Hall, are 40, 50, 60 years old. I think Fayetteville's going to be challenged a lot in the years to come as far as infrastructure. We're operating off of some 60 and 70-year-old lines as far as our water distribution. You don't have to go very far to find that. Every other week we have 71B corridor dug up fixing 60-year-old water lines. So the other reason I want to bring everybody together, it's time, this left, right, blue, red. I'm purple. I'm a purple dog, been here 50 years of my life. I want to think that I can bring folks together, unite the city. Of course, we're stronger united. And I want to represent everybody in Fayetteville, all classes, north to south, east to west. And I don't feel like Lionel has been doing a very good job at that over the last 4 to 8 years. I think we've created a situation where we're divided, and I'm hoping to change that. And I'm hoping to win, the folks over, and come November 3rd, be the next mayor of Fayetteville.
Thank you. Mr. Falcom?
Yes, my two greatest teachers in my life were my grandmother and my mom. And they both said that the definition of joy was that we were to serve Jesus first, then others, then ourselves. And that's basically how I've tried to live my life. I've tried to serve others. And throughout the years, like I said, I've been here all my life, and I just don't like some of the things that have happened in this city, how it's changing. We are, like I said before, we're absolutely buried in money problems. We've got to come to grips with that. And we've got to change our priorities, as Mr. Terminella alluded to. First of all, we have to make sure that citizens are safe. Then we got to get on top of the money situation so we can take care of all of our other massive problems that we have. Speaking of the swimming pool issue, back in the 60s, they promised a big swimming pool at Walker Park. Well, now Walker Park looks like a ghetto. I mean, it's awful. They put a little money into the new park, but they didn't even finish it right. And Mr. Terminella and I brought that to fruition. We brought that up 4 years ago. It's still incomplete. It's just, it has issues, and Walker Park definitely does too. I think that needs to be addressed. And like I said, we've got to serve all the citizens of Fayetteville, not just a small portion. And that's, to me, that's what's been going on for several years. And I was approached by some aldermen that used to serve years ago. They wanted me to run a long time ago. I wasn't in a position to. I am in a better position to now. And I think I've got the means and hopefully the gumption to take this city where it needs to go.
Thank you. And I'll go to our next question. What do you believe is the number one issue facing Fayetteville residents? Mr. Balcom, we'll start with you. Actually, if we may, I'll go ahead and start with Mr. Terminella, and we'll alternate the very first question on that. So Mr. Terminella, if you'll go first.
The number one issue I would say for the citizens of Fayetteville is lack of investment on infrastructure for the municipality. That would be, our facilities down at the city shops, our facilities, water, sewer, the treatment facilities there, city hall, the city shops, parks and rec, our infrastructure of the city. I think that's going to be very challenging going forward. The other thing that folks here in Fayetteville are facing is affordable housing. We have come up with so many layers of this Unified Development Code and the things that have to happen in order to pull a permit that we've almost priced ourselves out of the market. And of course, one of the big things everybody's wanting is affordable housing. Well, it's awful hard for anybody to provide and deliver affordable housing when the permitting process is so voluminous and so costly that it becomes counterproductive. We have so many requirements as far as permitting and planning and ordinances and requirements that it's actually made Fayetteville an area that's expensive to build within this community. So housing, homelessness is obviously an issue that's happened over the last 3 terms with Lionel being in, and just our infrastructure overall. We've not done a very good job over the last 2 or 3 administrations on building the necessary infrastructure for the citizens of Fayetteville, meaning public facilities. So those are some of the things that I think we're going to be challenged with. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Mr. Balcom, now we'll go to you.
Those are some very good things that Mr. Turnell brought up. To add to those, I would say probably lack of a living wage for most people here. There's such a disparity between the upper income people and the lower income people here. There is absolutely no middle class, I don't believe at all, in Fayetteville. And most people can't even make a living wage here. We have to bring some industry here and create jobs that'll give people a better chance to succeed in life. We're one of the poorest states in the country. And even though Northwest Arkansas is a nice area, and there's other poor areas in Arkansas, we're still right there. We're just, it's not good. People, and those people that are low income, they don't get to go out and enjoy these parks and these trails and the art center and things like that, because most of them are trying to work 2 and 3 menial jobs just to try to put a little bit of food on the table. And like I said, with the homeless, it's going to get worse. And Mr. Jordan has welcomed anybody and everybody from all over the country here. And we're not taking care of our citizens here already. I mean, I'm not, I'm all for letting people come here. I mean, we don't want to have closed doors, but we've got to take care of people. And we're doing I'm sorry, but I don't think we're doing a very good job of it.
Hey, Mr. Harris.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Balcom that we need to have some high-paying jobs. We need to look up at Bentonville. We found good people here to start with that built those great businesses in Springdale, built Tyson's, built Walmart. Those were good people, hardworking, dependable, honest people who built those businesses. They were here to begin with. And now those businesses have drawn talented people from all over the country, all over the world. We need to do the same thing right here in Fayetteville. And we have a university to begin with. We shouldn't have any problem kickstarting that kind of a program. I believe that one of our problems lately is in bringing people together. That's what people keep talking about. I have railed against, back years ago in 1983, when I railed against the revolution, I was railing against the secular humanist element in that. And we see that element at work today, even in the violent street traffic that we see as if they were preparing for another revolution. But we need to bring people together. Now, imagine this, the religious community and the homosexual community. They simply have some serious misunderstandings that can be straightened out. They can be brought together into a cooperative plane where, granted, it'll be a dialectic. They won't agree on things, but at least they won't be condemning each other. So If we can get those two groups to understand each other, it is the beginning of what I call faith-based humanics, as opposed to secular humanism. Once we get faith-based humanics going, we are looking at the biggest human resources company in the world, right here in Fayetteville, a huge insurance company. From our architecture school at the university, we can spin that up into a inexpensive mobile housing type of thing for a whole new population dedicated to stable society in command of a sustainable planet. There is a tremendous demand for that. The secular humanists are really interested in saving their planet, which they seem to feel like they own, but it's all of our planet. And we all need to be participants. And we need to save this planet without sacrificing the human race. Yeah, we've got some big demands. If we can meet those demands, we can build a
30 seconds.
great city. Pardon me?
30 seconds, I'm sorry.
Oh, 30 seconds? Oh, that's all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question. Do you support continued funding for Ozark Regional Transit, ORT? Mr. Balcom, we'll start with you.
Oh, okay. Not really, unless it just gets to be a very dire situation. I think their management ought to be able to raise funds, and I don't know, it may come to that. I mean, because we have to have it. No question about it. We've got to have that public transportation. We have got too much of a log jam. I mean, it's just gridlock. And it's getting worse because, like I said, like Mr. Harris said, we tend to spend more money on sidewalks instead of making space for vehicles to travel, especially our emergency vehicles to get from point A to point B, because they definitely have issues with that. So unless it's just a dire situation, if they're about to close, then possibly we would need to continue funding them. That's the way I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Bauckham. Our credit is as good as the bond market. I know that sounds like Keynesian economics, not in fashion lately, but it's been working for a few decades. Our credit is as good as the bond market, and if we're a growing, dynamic future, going into the future city, our credit will be terrific, and we'll raise the money, no problem at all. One thing that Lionel Jordan has in his favor, he's got a crowd of people that come to him early on in his career, and they had programs that were big and beautiful, and they could have the technical support for it, they could raise the popular support for it, and they could raise the money. That group keeps coming to him, or groups like that keep coming to him with big, beautiful projects. Yeah, he's going to depend on them. Yes, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be overlooked. So if we have a growing dynamic city, as I hope we certainly should, we should have the credit at the bond market that we can do. I would see something like a monorail going all the way from the south end to the north end, all right? Let's say from Drake Field up to somewhere in Bentonville, all right? Maybe Bella Vista, the length of it. This whole thing is strung out in one long length. We need to cover that length. And as we're going to grow, we're going to need that more and more. I'm in agreement with Mr. Bauckham on that question.
Sorry, Mr. Terminella.
You're talking about the bus service, Ozark Regional Transit. I think it's a necessary form of transportation for a lot of people. I don't know that we're fully utilizing the assets, just from, my observation of the program. It seems like the majority of the time that I see those services running around the community, and I think we're now through basically all 4 metropolitan cities, they're interconnected. Most of the time, I don't see the ridership there that would justify the amount of money that we're spending on it. But I do believe in public transportation. I do believe there's a need for it. We may look at, in this time of COVID and this new world that we're in, maybe minimalizing all of those routes and those services to get the highest impact and the most ridership. But I definitely think that we need public transportation, and I just need to look into the numbers and understand where all the funding is coming from and what our participation is. But yes, I would be in support of continuing to fund it at some level.
Mr. Shelton, are you finished?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Shelton, I think I may have misunderstood the question. I thought we were talking about a railway transit system.
No, Ozark Regional Transit, the bus service.
Okay, the bus service, I'm going to have to change my position on that. May I? You know how I feel about an above ground railway. Okay. Monorail or something like that. That's what I spoke of. The bus system, I believe that is largely a charitable product that we offer to a very limited part of the population. It is critically important to those people to be able to get around and shop and go to the doctor. We need to keep that, but I don't think it should be expanded. I don't think we should attempt to make it a luxury commute service. No, we shouldn't do that. Keep it just the way it is. It's not returning anything on the investment, but it is, let's face it, it's a charity. And we have to live in a charitable world or we'd never make it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. How should Fayetteville prepare its workforce in the 21st century? Mr. Terminelli.
Well, we've got one of the greatest assets here in the state of Arkansas called the University of Arkansas. I think it's doing a great job at, raising our children and educating them. I think we've got to be able to provide, affordable housing. We've got to be able to provide jobs that people can make a fair living at. If it becomes so expensive that folks can't afford to live here, I don't know what kind of industry that we can attract, to be honest with you. But being in the business I'm in for the last 30 years, we've had lots of people come to town, and for some reason they look, they shop, they interact with the municipality. And here in recent years, most of them have ended up going to Benton County. So we have to have, the platform of being able to provide housing for the folks that come, and then provide the platform for people to be able to be entrepreneurs and to be able to start small businesses. And we have to have a city that's supportive in championing small business, and that will, manifest into more jobs. But here recently with, this administration and this leadership, canceling, all of the, the events here for the fourth quarter of the year, whether it's the bike rally or the Christmas parade or lighting of the Ozarks, the impact that that's having on our merchants and on our shop owners and on our hospitality and restaurants and our bars and retailers around downtown has been significant. And the city ought to be doing everything that they possibly can to promote and support all businesses in Fayetteville and make the environment easier to come to Fayetteville and to live out their plans and their dreams and their expectations as far as entrepreneurs and small business.
Thank you. Mr. Balcom.
Yes, kind of a two-faced deal here. Like Mr. Terminelli said, we've lost so many revenues. I think we need to go back and do some more complete audits now since this COVID thing. And we definitely got to get our economy going as strong as we possibly can in order to support the programs that we need, including trying to help future workforce. But we also, I think we need to get more trade schools and things like that. That U of A has busted some people. I mean, that they've had to get loans and grants. I mean, I love that university. I graduated from there myself. But a lot of people have buried themselves in debt that they may not ever come out of. And so we need to look at more things, some other practical ways to educate people, and to get them suited for other fields, not just the things that they teach at the university. But that's, like I said, I think it all boils down. We've got to go back now and readjust our thinking. And I think a lot of it has to do with that budget that city has. I think it all has to be revamped now because of the COVID deal. And we definitely can't afford to keep our economy down. We have to promote, just like Mr. Terminello said, we've got to promote everything we can to make revenues for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
Would you restate that question, please?
Yes, sir. How should Fayetteville prepare its workforce in the 21st century?
Good, yeah. Okay, you're talking about preparing the people that are already here, I presume, not attracting new workers to new industries or anything like that. So the question came up about the big high school that we have. Other cities have 2 high schools. We have only 1. I look at the high school and I think, how can a kid choosing which high school he wants to go to, but there's only one choice. How many kids get to play on the football team out of these thousands of students? How many kids are able to play in the band or in dramatics or art or anything else? How many kids are able to specialize in pre-college studies? I was pre-college in high school. I don't know, prep school, right? But I think we might have to consider 2 high schools instead of 1. I don't know what kind of problems that has with the school district. We're already pretty committed to a big high school. But if we can split into 2 high schools and hopefully grow into that second one as well, we should be able to offer our kids such a variety of training and courses for those who are highly intelligent and highly talented, and for those who just need to work with their hands and make a living. And those are pretty good people too. What would we do without them? We need to be able to prepare them, and we need to have the businesses and the jobs that are ready to employ them. We need to grow. We need to grow. We need to grow. Do I have to put that on my forehead? We need to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. How can Fayetteville attract more businesses to town? Mr. Harris, we'll start with you.
Sure. I know it sounds out in left field or pretty abstract or anything, but I truly believe that we can build new businesses here, which will become as colossal as Tyson and Walmart. If those fellas can do it in the neighboring town, we can do it here too. We have the kind of people we need, and we have the resources that we need other than the people. We have the land that we need. We have everything we need, okay? We can build a gigantic human resources headquarters of an industry. We can build a huge insurance company. And again, our architecture school can, what do you call it? Like lay an egg and hatch it. What's that called? Incubate another industry for compact mobile housing. We can do that here because I don't think anybody else is trying to do it. And we have, I believe we have the kernel of a kernel, like a kernel of wheat, the grain of a beginning to do it. And I have already begun work on it, and other people, I believe, are cooperating with it. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Bockham.
Well, I believe if we can get more people involved in our the whole situation here, like maybe get some mailings in the water bills that we send to people, tell them what's going on in the city, or that we need their ideas, or same way on anything the city that the governing body is working on, they need to make people more aware. I don't think we've got enough people involved. We've got some brilliant minds here that are going to waste. And especially those ones that have graduated, a lot of them that's graduated from that university. A lot of people like Mr. Terminello and his family They've been here all their lives. They've seen what Fayetteville needs. So we need to plug that. We need to try to resource that. We need to get everybody's ideas on that. Try to build business, to build our commerce, just to build our city the way it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Terminella.
Taylor, please restate that question so I make sure I address it correctly.
Absolutely. How can Fayetteville attract more businesses to town?
Well, the first thing that the citizens, the taxpayers, and the residents of Fayetteville can do, and the municipality, is on November 3rd to go vote for Tom Terminella for the next mayor of Fayetteville. That will be a signal to everybody that we're here to be inclusive, inviting. The second thing that we need to do as a municipality and as a city is to lower the barricades over at City Hall to where it becomes streamlined when you come to Fayetteville to do commerce or business or construct or build something within the community, that the regulatory, the permitting process is shortened. I hear over and over and over that it takes weeks and then months and then, sometimes quarters of time to get through the planning and development process. So we've got to lower hurdles, make it easier for the citizens, the taxpayers, the entrepreneurs to come here and go through the process. We've got to get a new aura. We got to get a new vibe. We got to get we've got to get a new commitment from the leadership and the administration to get rid of that negative energy where, I hear so many times that, once I finish this project, I'm going to go to a different part of the county or go to a different county, and I'm not coming back because of what they experience here, whether it's, permitting or planning or inspection or ordinance. And that bothers me. I can't tell you how many friends and people in my industry that have moved on to Springdale and Rogers and Bentonville. And even the young man this afternoon at lunch was telling me what a joy and how easy it was to go to Farmington and pull permits and get inspections and interact with the municipality. And that's something that, for whatever reason, just through all the different layers of regulatory process and the expense that goes into that, whether it's engineered footings and foundations and, stormwater criteria, all the things that, had good intentions have created so much expense. And we're going to have to do a better job at
30 seconds.
We're going to have to do a better job at getting a new attitude and a can-do spirit and being accommodating to the people that come through the thresholds of City Hall and support them, and to do everything as a municipality to help them achieve their objectives. And if we're not doing that as a city, we're losing. And those are some of the things that I would do day one.
Thank you. Go to our next question. What are your goals for your first year in office? Mr. Terminella, start with you.
Goals for the first year in office. I think one thing that's been overlooked and that has, for better words, metastasized under Lionel Jordan's leadership of Fayetteville, whether it was intended or not, is the issue of mental health, homelessness, affordable housing. I kind of put it all into one bucket. I never remember in the 50 years that I've been here running around on these streets as a kid and now an adult, interacting and seeing so many folks that are without housing, so many folks that are sleeping along our Arkansas Greenway Trail system, so many folks sleeping in our parks. That's something that has to be addressed. It's affecting business. It's affecting property ownership. It's affecting the very people that need the services. And I think we have to do a better job, whether it's through our places of faith, our social and mental health institutions. We've got to deal with that aspect. The other thing, the first year, is lowering hurdles and being a city that is actually open for business and asking people to come set up their shops and asking home builders and real estate developers and engineers to come to our community. We have a tremendous demand for people that want to meet and live in Fayetteville, and we're not able to meet those demands. I have different friends in the housing industry, and they are literally hundreds of pre-sold homes behind. And here again, we're not making it any easier or any less expensive for them to come provide those amenities and those subdivisions. So lowering hurdles, making it easier, making it more affordable, and dealing with the ever-growing problem of the addicted, the mentally ill, and the homeless that has really taken over the majority of South Fayetteville.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah, as I say, what he said, that collection of people is a labor force that could be used for beneficial, the pretty things, the pretty little extras to clean up the stream banks and things like this. Now, it might be a little tricky how to get them employed without putting ourselves in a corner, but that's a labor force that's available, and they need something to do. They need a community, and people who work together form communities, They need to be taken care of. They need to be made content. Contentment is a powerful tool, more powerful than force. We need to employ those people in the best way. Now, what I had in mind for my first year, on the other hand, is to get some satellite libraries, one at the north end of town, probably focusing on business, possibly a little miniature law library and the business journals and such as you have. Where it would be located, possibly we might get a good deal out at the mall. They've got some free space for the time being anyway. I want another satellite library on the east side of town, out there by Crossroads and Mission, probably focusing on little children, something like a playground type of thing. We can easily find volunteers to read stories to all kinds of kids while the mothers are out shopping and what have you. I noticed that our large library on the south end of town, everything's on the south end of town, but they all have all kinds of programs for children. So there's a demand for programs for children. East side of town, satellite library called Annex. On the west side of town, I'm not sure what kind of an annex would be appropriate there. Maybe it's so close to the university that it wouldn't need an annex, okay? But I do notice that there are some elderly housing facilities out on the west side, noticeably, and maybe it would be good to have something for the elder folks. We already have the Boys and Girls Club, so it's not about kids. Maybe the elderly folks could use something at the library, even if it was a bookmobile that went around and serviced them. Libraries, okay, good. I want that swimming pool, and I think we can get the money to do it. I'll bet we can get tax dollars back from the feds. Because after all, we have a racial crisis here, as you know. So I'm speaking sarcastically. I also want those streets cleared up for free and easy flow of traffic. I want those signs in the middle of the street taken down so that a bus can get out of the way if somebody opens their driver door in a parking spot. You see what I mean? Okay.
Final thoughts?
5 seconds?
Final thoughts. Yes, sir.
Yes, final thoughts. Okay. And I do agree with Tom and Ron. I want people to get through the paperwork. How long do you have to stand in line, and how many hoops do you have to jump through to get something done in Fayetteville? Well, Fayetteville's almost a socialist city, some people would say. Vietnam, are you kidding? We need to,
Final thoughts?
streamline the whole business of business. Make this a good town for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Balcom?
Yes, what really should be our main concern all the time would be the safety and the health for all of our citizens. And like these gentlemen have alluded to, we're not doing that for the homeless. And then, and then we've also got some problems with the elderly people have kind of been slightly, they haven't been helped as much as they should. We've got to, and we've got some of the greatest people in the world that volunteer here in Fayetteville. So maybe we need to call on them more. We need to start some more mentor programs for these homeless people, try to get them work, show them how to, help them get trained to get a job and get them off the streets. I mean, everybody should have housing and clothes and food. And we're really not doing that like we should here in Fayetteville. So that needs to be the main priority right from the get-go. So we have to streamline everything else to try to get to that, including going back, looking at all the revenues, doing complete audits as soon as we can, and going back to that to see where we can cut expenses that we've wasted on other things all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move to try and get a few questions in from the community. First one comes from Sarah Moore. What alternatives to incarceration do you support, if any? Sobering center, mental health teams, peer recovery specialists, homeless teams, DWI court, shoplifting theft court. What are your thoughts? Mr. Balcom?
Well, we definitely got a drug problem here. Of course, the whole United States has that. But some of these petty things, we just need to, I don't believe in the incarceration. I'm more along the counseling line. I think we need to have more facilities that will counsel and try to rehab that way, unless they're hardened criminals. And definitely if they're violent crimes, they need to be incarcerated. There's no questions about it. But my family's had issues with drugs. And I'll tell you, I'm sure most families have somebody that's had problems with those. So we just got to do a better process with that. I just put them in jail, let them stay 30 days, whether it's 30 days, 6 months, whatever. They get right back out. They're going to do it again. I mean, and like I say, we do definitely need to call on all the faith-based community because they're the biggest part of it. Because if we can turn somebody to the Lord, they can truly get off that stuff without incarceration. So I believe that's the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Terminella?
Okay, restate that for me, please.
Sure. What alternatives to incarceration do you support? Sobering center, mental health teams, peer recovery specialists, homeless teams, DWI court, shoplifting, theft court. These are all just examples. We would just like your thoughts on alternative incarceration.
Yeah, I think, I'm sure we have a whole variety of things that people get incarcerated for. I think a big part of it is drug addiction. I think the biggest part of the folks that were let out here recently with the COVID down at the Washington County Detention Facility, I understand there were some 850 inmates that has been reduced down to 350 down at the Washington County Jail. And most of the folks that were let out, the majority of those were drug-related crimes. And I think we got to do a better job at getting our treatment programs up and running, whether it's through our faith-based organizations or our county and state mental health institutions. We're certainly not going to incarcerate our way out of this. If everybody can remember 6 or 8 months, maybe even 10 months ago, the number one discussion for Washington County was where we were going to get the funding and how we were going to expand the jail facilities down at the South Campus. And within 2 quarters, with COVID happening and 500 people being not necessarily furloughed, but released to home detention or whatever it was, that's an example. There are alternatives to building bigger jails. And I think it goes back to leadership. It goes back to, the cooperation at the state, county, and the municipal level. I don't think there's enough of that occurring. And there is no problem in Fayetteville, Arkansas, or for that matter, the state of Arkansas, that can't be solved. We have some of the world's most generous and wealthy families that live within 20 minutes of Fayetteville. And you know, there's nothing that can't be solved in this community with leadership. And if it's not solved, it's because somebody hasn't picked up the phone, taken the initiative, and led. And that's what I plan to do January 1 of next year after being elected mayor of Fayetteville, if I'm so fortunate enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Tom, Ron. Did I mention that I spent 20 years in jail? 6 years for what I did and 14 years for what some other people did? Jail is not that bad. It's traumatic when you go there, but you adjust. You've got shelter, you've got food, you've got things to do, you know, you've got television. I mean, it's not that bad. You don't really want to stay there for very long, though. You want to take a program that will get you rehabilitated, and you want to get out of there and go back home. Here's the deal. We've got a lot of possibilities that we're not really thinking about, okay? We live in the electronic age. My GPS is turned on. Is your GPS turned on, Mr. Shelton? I believe it is. We've all got GPS. We can treat our, let's see, what do we call them? Offenders, yes. We can treat our offenders. We can deal with them in the electronic way. If we have to have them incarcerated for a time, we certainly want to minimize that time by making the most of it. We want to get them in there, get them rehabilitated, get them out of there. And I'm sorry to say, I hate to be a mean guy, but if they have such an unhealthy situation, maybe a little castor oil in the food would help them to heal up. I know I had to take a spoonful of castor oil once, and I never had to do it again. That sounds mean and it sounds low, but it works. We can solve this problem with high tech or low tech, but the thing is, a penitentiary from the House of Penitence is from the idea of rehabilitating, of changing your mind. And like Mr. Bauckham said, began to say, yes, Christianity is known as the very best rehabilitation method. It has the lowest reincarceration rate, what they call it, recidivism rate. Let's turn loose our faith-based charitable outfits and let them go to town and help these people. Let them be allowed inside the prison, allowed to talk to the prisoners. And let's cut this time down. If we can, what do they call it? The turnover. It's just like an employee turnover, a customer turnover, you got prisoner turnover. Get that turnover rate going, get them in, get them out, and get them back to work. We can solve that problem. I'm not worried about it. I'm really not worried about that.
Thank you. We will now go to our closing statements, and we've got about 8 minutes left on our forum just to respect y'all's time. Mr. Harris, you'll give your 3-minute closing statement.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shelton. What a pleasure it has been. What a pleasure it has been to join together here. I'm so glad that all three of us candidates were here. I kind of wish that Mr. Jordan would have been here with us. I hope he was invited in a timely way. I want to tell you about Mr. Jordan. I like Lionel Jordan. I have always admired him. In fact, he's competent. He's done big things. Now, sure, he's had a little coterie of people who've helped him to do this, brought him the technical stuff, brought him the popular support, brought him the financial support, okay? He's been able to do several good, big things. But that is a skill in itself to bring those, to attract those people. Lionel Jordan is competent, and I believe he loves this city. I sometimes see tears in his eyes when he talks about Fayetteville. But I would like him to take a vacation. After 12 years, 3 terms in office, I would like him to take a little vacation. Let's call it a sabbatical. I would like to see him take a sabbatical, go and visit some of the great cities all over the world and see the different things that are going on, and see a all the different ideas that he can bring back to us. I want him to enjoy the theater, and I want him to go sailing, and I want him to enjoy music, and I want him to enjoy just the great outdoors. Take a rest and let all these responsibilities and all these commitments to certain people drop from his shoulders. And when he comes back in 4 years, I will gladly let him run again. And I don't think I'd even want to run after 4 years of this. But let's bring him back to be proud of his city and to be very pleased with what he's seen us do. I don't know if that's a very good closing statement, but I've got some plans for Fayetteville, and I think Fayetteville can do just about anything we set our mind to. We've got the people, we've got all the other resources. We are in the heartland of America. We are in actually the eye of a storm. Can you feel it brewing all around us, all over the country? We're in the eye of a storm, and we can lead the way out of it. We can do it. Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Balcom, 3 minutes.
Yes, I really appreciate the chamber putting this on today, and I appreciate my esteemed colleagues here. Both these gentlemen are fine gentlemen. I think either one of them will do a great job for Fayetteville. I believe I could too. I think I could bring the best return on the investment of the taxpayer dollars. We just got to have better. We've got to do a lot better with that in order to be able to make this city what it needs to be. Like I said, we need to streamline things. If I'm elected, I'll even take a 20% pay cut. I believe we voted ourselves too many raises over the years up there. We had gentlemen who used to not even get a salary here, and they did a fine job. So I really believe that I'm the man for the job, but whichever one of us three here gets the job, because like I said, I think Mr. Jordan needs to go into retirement. I'm sure we will all three work together to make this the best city it could possibly be. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Terminella.
Okay, in closing, I want to ask the citizens of Fayetteville and the taxpayers, the residents, to consider voting for me November 3rd. I'm here to govern and administrate from the middle and represent all of Fayetteville. And I think Fayetteville's best days are definitely in front of us. I think we have tremendous opportunities. I think with inclusiveness and coming together and representing everybody in Fayetteville, that will be stronger, will be better for it. And I would just ask anybody that wants to run for public office to do so with the understanding that it's for serving the public. And if your intentions are anything other than serving the public, then you're probably in the wrong business. And I would just hope that Lionel would find something and put as much passion into that going forward as he has being the mayor of Fayetteville. I think he's got a kind heart. I think he has good intentions. But I agree with both of these gentlemen, and 80% of the people that I come across every day, he's worn out his welcome. It's time for him to get his box. It's time for democracy to occur. And nobody should be in public service for a career. And 20 years of Lionel being involved with city council and as mayor is enough. And it'd be enough for anybody in any city. So my commitment to the citizens of Fayetteville, Arkansas is to be a 1 or 2 term mayor. Day one, I want to ask the new council to pass an ordinance to allow any citizen to be mayor twice, and then please move on. That's democracy, that's public service. And I would just ask everybody to please consider voting for Tom Terminella come November 3rd. And may God bless Fayetteville, and may God bless this nation. And can we all please just come together as one? And can we have love over hate? And can we unify behind Fayetteville? Can we just be purple dogs? And that's my hope, and that's my expectation. And I appreciate y'all putting on the forum. I hope this gets posted online. Anybody has any questions for me, 479-841-1621 is the cell phone I've had for 30 years. Please call me. Can't always get to it, but leave me a message. Thanks for putting the forum on, and vote Terminilla for mayor 2020. Thank you.
Now, candidates, if you would push the button to mute yourself so I can go ahead and give some statements on what will happen now. For those that were joining us today, thank you for our first ever Zoom forum. We thank the candidates for taking the time to join us today and answer these questions. There's about 10 questions that we formed from the community and from different business leaders. We'll be using these questions for the rest of our forums. We will be uploading this video to our Facebook and our YouTube tomorrow, so keep your eyes out on the look for that. There is a forum tomorrow for Ward 1, so we'll be here same time, same place from 4 to 5. Once again, thank you all for joining us for the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce's virtual Zoom forum. We look forward to having you all again. Thanks.